Remember, conversation isn't about filling the time. It's about forming human connections and getting to know the people around you. The way you do this is by learning about them one step at a time. Alright, hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. My name is Caitlin and I run the blog called Mrs. Midwest. If you're new around these parts, we are all giving you a very warm welcome. And to all my members of the feminine family, thank you for joining us and let's dive in. So the concept of today's video is conversation. We've touched on the concepts of ladylike behaviors lately on the channel because I truly believe that the core of being feminine is being nurturing and welcoming to others, and what better way to do this than to feel confident and capable in our conversations. So today we are going to be talking about how to have a conversation with anybody. So as I've spoken about before, our world has become more casual. There used to be entire finishing and charm schools for women to honestly practice the art of conversation. Human communication can be very daunting for the average person, but in our modern world, it is less common than ever for people to feel comfortable in normal conversations. With the popularity of digital communication, many people aren't even comfortable spending time on a phone call. Many people weren't taught by their parents how to feel comfortable in a conversation. This is a skill that can absolutely benefit your life because you will feel more confident and secure in any social situation that you encounter. As we go about being feminine women in life, remember that the idea is to be nurturing. If you don't feel comfortable in conversation, don't blame yourself. Many of us need extra teaching, especially people who are shy or uncomfortable around others. Being feminine is different than being girly. Girliness is for young girls, but femininity is truly for grown women. And of course, it does include a level of confidence. And because of that, I want us as a feminine family to be confident in various areas of our lives. Whether you realize it or not, conversations shape your life. They shape who you choose as a mate. They shape your job, your promotions, your relationships with your families, and your relationships with your neighbors. Being more comfortable and confident in conversation will help you foster more connections with others and in general feel more confident. So let's dive into the first perspective that can help you gain confidence in the area of conversation, and that is you have something in common with every human. This is a little silly, but I remember reading in 17 magazine an article about how to talk to boys. The advice they gave was the fact that you have something in common with everybody, including boys. And this can be applied in a larger sense outside of just talking to boys to our lives. Every human eats, works, lives somewhere, has some sort of family, has relationships, gets ready in the morning, wears clothes. The list goes on and on. But does this mean I'm encouraging you to walk up to someone and ask them what they ate for breakfast? No. What I'm saying here is to remind yourself that you have things in common with everybody because that will get you in a more confident headspace when you need to talk to someone new. Depending on the context of how you meet someone, you should have another layer of things in common outside of general food, work, home, etc. For example, at a wedding, you could ask the stranger next to you, "So, how do you know the bride?" "Oh, I knew her in high school." From that information, you have more conversation fodder. "Oh, tell me what she was like in high school." This is a great conversation tactic because it gets you both talking about something you have in common that's a little bit more personal. You as the questioner can then say, "Oh, so you met in high school on the basketball team. Do you still play basketball?" And you can begin to get to know the person. Remember, conversation isn't about filling the time. It's about forming human connections and getting to know the people around you. The way you do this is by learning about them one step at a time. People often say it's difficult to get to know a stranger, and I would agree with this if you don't know the way to do it. When interacting with a stranger, establish mutual commonalities. In line for a coffee and you want to talk to the cute guy behind you, ask what he usually gets there. If he says, oh, it's my first time at this coffee shop, you could say, me too, and then you have something to bond about. Remember that you can talk to anybody and you can have commonalities with anybody because we all meet each other in a context. Meeting someone at a work or networking event, you have so much in common. You can ask them about their company, their position. You can tell them about your position. You can joke about the weird patterned carpet in the conference hall. You can talk about anything, but the trick is establishing commonalities as a method of getting to know people. All right, my second tip for talking to anybody is to do an activity together. Now, this doesn't mean meeting a stranger and inviting them to go horseback riding with you, but it does mean doing a small activity like getting hors d'oeuvres together, looking out at the sunset, or people watching together while you talk. This can break down barriers and make people feel more comfortable because it cuts down on eye contact. When we meet strangers, we sometimes feel uncomfortable, and when you're looking into the eyes of a stranger, it can sometimes increase that stress. Doing an activity while getting to know someone allows people to bond over that shared activity and feel more comfortable. For example, whenever I host people that my husband knows for a dinner party and say I don't know the wife, I will wait to make the garden salad until she shows up, and then I'll invite her to chop some cucumbers and chat with me in the kitchen while the guys get some drinks, and then we eat together as a group. Establishing connection via an activity is a wonderful way to make even yourself feel more comfortable. Set up conversations where you aren't facing the person necessarily, but maybe you're angled towards them to cut down on that stress. Facing someone and giving them all your attention can be a little bit stressful, as I'm sure you feel right now. Stepping back and even angling your body, looking out towards something else while you're also talking, can feel a little less intimidating. Focusing all your attention can be stressful. So chop some garden vegetables with that stranger your husband invited over and just go with the flow. If you're at a networking event and you're talking with someone, invite them to get some more hors d'oeuvres with you and chat while you're going through the buffet. If you're at a wedding, make conversation while you're both watching the dance floor. If you are a quieter, shy, more awkward person, sometimes doing an activity can help you focus less on the stress you feel from interacting with a stranger. Focusing down on that activity probably even can allow people to be more themselves because they're less focused on putting on a show right when they meet someone. All right, my third tip for talking to anybody is show that you are a welcoming and attentive spirit. Now, it's common conversational advice that, oh, everyone likes to talk about themselves, so just ask people questions about themselves. I would agree and disagree with this tip in one way. Yes, everyone does like to talk about themselves, but only to an attentive and receptive audience. If someone feels a little unsure about themselves or you and you ask them a lot of questions, they probably won't want to talk about themselves too much. The key to breaking down this barrier is to show them that you are an attentive and welcoming spirit that they can trust with the information about their life, their hobbies, etc. For example, if I meet a friend of my husband, I might say, so my husband tells me you're the guy to call if I ever don't know what's going on with my car engine. And they might laugh and say, oh no. And then I would say, working on engines seems so complicated. Tell me more how you learned about that. And then consequently, that person feels, number one, you're interested. Number two, you're impressed by them. And number three, they feel positive from your compliments and encouragement. So then they're more likely to share about themselves, their hobbies, etc. This can be applied in any situation. If you just walk up to someone and ask them, oh, you're a hairdresser, tell me how you got into that, they might feel a little unsure. But if you walk up to them and say, I've seen some of the hair you've cut on Instagram and it looks amazing, tell me how you got into hair. That person will then feel really good about themselves and more open to conversing with you. Now, don't pay false compliments and don't try to flatter or manipulate people. Simply encourage them in the sense that you're showing them that you care about what they're saying. But remember, if you're telling someone through compliments that you care about what they're saying, you better actually care. once you ask questions and once you gain the favor of that person, don't start scanning the room looking for someone else to talk to. Pay attention and listen to what they have to say, because I promise you, it is fascinating to learn about subjects you're not familiar with from people who are passionate about them. Another way to do this is simply by smiling and showing genuine interest. You don't always have to compliment, but showing someone your interest through eye contact and a pleasant facial expression goes so far. I have applied this with some of the shyest people I've ever met, and it never fails me. Anybody will be more likely to open up and talk about themselves if you show that you are not a threat and you are genuinely interested. All right, my fourth and final tip for talking to anybody is to practice conversation frequently and on a variety of people. It's great to learn how to talk to people your own age or in your stage of life, but if you want to learn how to talk to anybody, you have to talk to anybody. This could mean elderly people, a cashier, middle school boys, your boss, your neighbor, or your husband's cousin. Learning how to talk to anybody doesn't just happen. You have to practice on anybody. All of these conversation principles apply to people regardless of their age. Don't overlook somebody just because they wouldn't be your first choice of a best friend. We can learn so much by talking to elderly people, and we can foster the next generation by having good conversations with young middle school age people. Talking to people of the opposite gender or talking to people in higher levels of authority or lower levels of authority will all help us with the art of conversation and our own confidence. This is why I think it's so good for Christians to go to church regularly, because in the fellowship time after the service, you can practice talking to a variety of age groups and people. A really good trick for this is to talk to everybody present, even if that person is only 12 or 13 years old. For example, I could be talking to one of my friends at church and her 13-year-old boy might be hanging out nearby. Instead of just ignoring him, I'll often invite him in the conversation and ask him about his basketball team or how the playoffs are going or his opinions on the latest Fortnite dance. Knowing a variety of subjects for a variety of age groups and applying that will help you be able to talk to anybody. We're not all going to be born with the gift of conversing with anybody. Some people are more gifted in connection, but it doesn't mean we can't learn it. Feeling comfortable in a variety of social situations won't happen unless you put yourself in a variety of social situations. And never be hard on yourself if a conversation doesn't go amazingly. We're all learning. Just focus on what you can do, which is being welcoming and receptive to those around you while maintaining a natural curiosity. All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching. I didn't realize how passionate I was about this topic, but I do believe that conversation can help spur us on towards success in life because it sets us up for human connection and positive relationships. So if you have any other conversation tips, drop them in the comments below. And if you liked the video, please click that thumbs up button because it helps grow our family. If you haven't yet, please subscribe and join the feminine family. And if you're interested in more of this content, please check out my written blog. I do write 3 times a week. In total, I hope you have a wonderfully blessed and conversation-filled week, my beautiful sisters.